Today's daf is Daf Yud Daled. We are going to begin on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis at the last line, V'Hayivama. The Mishnah taught V'Hayivama Niknes B'Bia. A Yivama is acquired by either the, as we know, the Yivama is when the husband dies, and now the next brother takes now L'Habdu Shem Achiv, has to marry now the wife. So the halach is the Hayivama Niknes B'Bia, that the Yivama is acquired through Bia. And the Mishnah said she acquires herself through Chalitza or through Mrs. Hayavam or the death of the Yavam. So the Gemara says, Bia min. For what do we know that she can be acquired through Bia? So Makra, the pasuk says, Yavama Yabe Allah Lakachalil Isha. Her brother-in-law will engage in relations with her and take her to him as a wife. What does that mean? Which is mashma that Bia makes her a Yavama Yabe Allah Lakachalil Isha. That Bia makes the transaction. Why don't you say that with regards to all matters, she's like a wife? And just like a regular woman could be kind of with either with a star or with kesef, so to a Yavama as well. So the Gemara says, you would never think such a swara. Why not? The time we learned that you kesef or star game nuba. The Brisa says you would think that money and star can complete the acquisition. Other Yavama cause it to be married. In the same way that Bia is, that's what the pasuk says, V'yibma and perform Yibum. Bia Gemeresba to tell us that only Bia completes her acquisition, and money or a document does not complete the acquisition. So ask the Gemara V'yibma, why don't you say that? And Yibma means the Baal Korcha Miyabim, that he can perform Yibum without her consent. Usually a regular marriage it needs her consent, but Yibum does not require the woman's agreement. So the Gemara says, let the pasuk just say, and Yibum, my Yibum, what's this expression, and perform Yibum with her? Shamas Mina, Tarti, we learn from here two things. Number one is that the Yibum can be performed against her will, and secondly, that only through Yibum is the Yavama acquired. And the Mishnah says, Bechalitza, through Chalitza. So the Gemara says, from where do we know this? The pasuk says, and his name shall be called in Israel the house of him who had his shoe removed, which is Mashma Kiva. But now, once his shoe is removed, by her, Hutu l'chol Yisrael, she is permitted to everyone. So the Gemara says, Hi Yisrael l'achida, so the Yisrael come to teach us another halacha. This teaches us, what Shmuel Bar Yehuda says, Be Yisrael. Well, the Torah says, Be Yisrael, the Beis Yisrael, the Beis Yisrael Nachrim, that has to be performed in a Yiddish court and not a Goyish court. So my answer is, today Be Yisrael Ksivi. It's written twice Yisrael. And a difference in halacha is derived from each of these instances. Where it says, but you still require the word Yisrael from that which the Brisa said. Amr Yehuda says, Yeshum lefnei b'tarfin. Now, once we were sitting before Reb Tarfon and a Yavama came to perform Chalitza. Tarfon said to us after the Chalitza, all of you should answer the one whose shoe was removed, the one whose shoe was removed. So this teaches us that the matter must be announced and publicized to the nation. So our answers are, that we learn out from the pasuk, from the words, and his name shall be called, which indicates that it must be announced that this is his name. The Mishnah further teaches that a Yavama is released over Mrs. Hayavam from the death of the Yavam. For the Gemara Minolan, for what do we know that? And for the Gemara Kalvachemer. If, with regards to a married woman who's forbidden to other men, and if she has relations, she gets a strangulation chenek, and nevertheless, the death of her husband renders her permitted Yavam she belav, so Yavam, which is only a lav, for sure, the death of the Yavam should make her permitted. So the Gemara says, how could you say this kal v'chemer? She goes out with get. Can you say by the Yavama which get doesn't work? So the Gemara answers, okay, it doesn't go out with a get, but she goes out with chalitza, which is the same function as a get. Ella, rather you can challenge the kal v'chemer azay. What is unique about an Ish, a married woman, that one can render forbidden to everyone else, her husband, also renders her permitted when he dies. This is not so with regards to Yavama. She is rendered forbidden upon the death of her husband. Rashi says with regards to this Yavama as well, he who renders her forbidden is also one who renders her permitted. Yavam Eisra, the Yavam renders her forbidden, because if he was not alive, she would automatically be permitted to other men. Yavam Sharila, likewise the Yavam renders her permitted through Chalitza. Where it says a married woman should leave through Chalitza, should be able to leave the marriage through Chalitza. Why? From a Kavachemer. If Yavama which get does not work. It's a Bechalitza, Zushi, it's a beget, and it is a Bechalitza, so this woman who can go out with a get, so for sure Chalitza should work. The Pasuk says, Sefer Krisis, which we brought up a few times already, the Pasuk says, it has to be a Sefer, a scroll of severance, which is a Sefer Kursim, which is, it has to be a written document which severs from her husband, nothing else which severs. Mar asks just to hey Yavama Yetze beget, but l'cher let a Yavama leave through get from a Kavachim. Ma Ishazish and Yetze Bechalitz, if Ishazish, which Chalitza doesn't work, Yetze beget, Zushi Yetze Bechalitz, and it is Yetze beget, Amakra, Kocha, V'Kocha Yikuva. So therefore, the Gemara answers, it says so, which Azuy and Ishtandish. So the Gemara asks, whenever you have a Yidarshan Kuva, there's you can't say a Kavachemer, but Yom Kippur Miksiv Geidel V'Chuka. But there's a case, as we know by the cases of the designation of the goats on Yom Kippur, the pasuk says Geirol, a lot, and Chukah, which is a statue, which indicates that everything stated with regards to Mitzvah Yom Kippur is critical to the performance of the service of the day. Now, but Tanya Belinda Navraisa also Chatos, the pasuk says. It says that about Aaron, you shall bring forth the goat upon which the Geirol came on Hashem, and you shall offer it as a sin offering. Hagirol is a chatas, which is mashma, the lottery renders it a chatas, ben Hashem is a chatas, but a verbal designation of the goat with the status of a sin offering does not make a sin offering. Shiyachol, now, it's necessary to teach us Allah. You would have thought that the opposite conclusion is correct. Well, I didn't know. It's a logical. Kiddush Hashem. Now, just as in the case which the use of the lottery does not affect the consecration of the animal. With regard to a woman who has given birth and must bring two birds, one as a sin offering, one as a burnt offering, and nevertheless, we know a verbal designation of the animal with the required status does not affect the Kedusha of them. So the Chedem, in the case in which the use of the lottery does not affect the Kedusha of the animals, and not logically right that a verbal designation of the animals with regard the status should affect the Kedusha of them. That's what the Torah says. You shall offer it as a sin offering. Which is the Geirul that does it and not the Shem. Time of the Miyat to Crow. Now, what's the reason why we say this? Is because I have the pasuk excludes. I would say the Kavachemer Alpha Gav the Ksib B'Chulko, even though there says Chulka. Now, the same logic should apply in the case of the Chalitza. The term Kafa should not prevent one from learning on a Kavachemer. Therefore, it might be argued that a Yavama should be released through a get. So the Gemara answers, Amakra, La Love, La Yavama. Pasuk says, for her, which is mash for her, not the Yavama. But why not say that law means that the get must be written for her sake? So the Gemara answers, today law, it says twice law. But you still need the two law, one to teach me that the get needs to read Lishma, and one that has to be for her, not another person. So the Gemara answers and says, Elamakra, no. The pasuk says, why a get is ineffective by Yavama, because the pasuk says it has to annul the shoe, which teaches us null in if she's released only by the shoe, but nothing else. For the Gemara behind null, the null teaches me something else. Pasuk says that his shoe, which is mashma, I have derived only that his shoe ain't be used. From where do I know that the shoe of any other person could be used as well? Tamalemer no riba. Shoe, which includes. So why does it say his shoe? Which is apparently referring to the shoe of a particular man. Which teaches us that the shoe must be fit for him. Prat l'godol she'en yochel halach b'ei, excluding a shoe so large that a person cannot walk in. Prat l'kot she'en chefes v'ragli, excludes a shoe so small that the shoe does not cover most of the foot. Prat, and it's excluding as well, the masulam she'en be'le'okev, sandals that have no heels, which do not qualify as shoes. If so, the Torah should have said no shoe. My hana'al, what does it mean, the shoe? The West teaches me two things. Now we have a new Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Evet Ivri Nikna Mekesef B'shtar, a Evet Ivri Hebrew slave can be acquired by his master either through money or through a document. He can acquire himself, he is free 3 years when he completes the 6 years of work, will be able, and through the Yavel year, will be Gedoin Kesef, and through the deduction of money. The slave can redeem himself during the 6 years by paying the remaining years of his slavery. A Hebrew maidservant can free herself more than him as she acquires herself through signs when she's mature. Now, Hanirtza, a slave who is pierced after serving 6 years, Nikne Beretzia, is acquired as a slave for a longer period through piercing of the ears. Kenes Atzim be able, and acquires himself through able, Mrs. Adon, and one of the other dies. Where it says, the Mishnah says that a Hebrew slave can be acquired through money. For when do I know this? The pasuk says, out of the money that he was bought for. It teaches us that he can be acquired through money. Ask them we found that a Hebrew slave who was sold to a goy is acquired with money, which is the case discussed in the pasuk. But it doesn't prove nothing with regard to a yid sold to another yid. And one could say, since all the acquisition of a goy are performed only with money, you can likewise purchase a Hebrew slave with money. We know that a Evet Ivri can be sold to a yid with money. Amakra, the pasuk says, v'hafte, be redeemed. Which teaches us that if she acquires money and wishes to be free before her time is complete, she deducts a sum from the redemption. The maidservant can deduct the value of the time served from her purchase price and pay the remaining amount. Yes, and she is free. This teaches us that a Ivri is acquired through money, halacha that applies to a Evet Ivri as well. You found in regards to Hebrew maidservant, since she is Mekudesh Bekesef, Mekanya Bekesef, evident even Minal, what do you know about Evet Ivri? Says, if your brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, is sold to you, and they shall serve for 6 years, Torah compares a Hebrew man to a Hebrew woman, which is mashma, the modes through which they are acquired are the same. So the says, we found the source for a slave was sold by the court. So this pasuk is referring to a thief who is unable to repay the value of the theft and is sold as a slave so that he can repay his debt. So one can say that this is a unique case since he sold it against his will. From where do you know that one who sells himself can be through money? So my answer is sachar, a hired worker and hired worker. The term appears both with regards to one who sells himself. The pasuk says a hired worker and a settler, he shall be with you. And with regards to one who's sold by the Beis Din, it says also Sachar. So the word says, Sachar. So the word says, Sachar. This is works well according to the one who says that we learn this Sachar. But the person that doesn't learn this fair share, what are you going to say? So my answer is, Amakra v'chi sasik. The pasuk says, and becoming rich. Which adds to the first matter. We arrive to the case below. Where it says, Man tana yolav sachar. And who is the tana who does not? Man tana delay yolav sachar. Who doesn't learn this way? Where it says, Hatana tanya mechasatz menim kol. It says that one who sells himself as a slave is sold for 6 years. Yes, and if he wishes, he can be sold more than 6 years. But somebody who's sold by the Beis Din is only sold for 6 years. Raisa adds that there's an additional difference between the two slaves. Somebody who sells himself may not be pierced by this nirtza. To regards to somebody who sells himself is somebody who sells himself is not granted severance. Somebody who sells himself a master does not provide him a shifcha knanis, then Rabbi Meisel shifcha knanis. Somebody who sold himself by the court, his master may provide with him a knani maid servant. Rabbi S says there's no difference between the two types of slave. Rather, both the slave and the slave may be sold only for 6 years. And this one and that one may be pierced with a nirtza. And both are granted a severance gift. And both of them provided with the shifcha knanis. So what are they arguing? The Tanakam does not learn on Sachar Sachar, but Rabbi Elazar Yolav Sachar Sachar, and Rabbi Elazar does. If one holds that the two cases are similar, one will equate the halachas of both slaves. This is the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, in contrast to the opinion of the first Tana, who holds that the halachas of each type of slaves are discrete. The Tevimi says in the name of Abaya, this is not so. Rather, the Kula only Yolav Sachar Sachar. Everyone derives sachar, hard worker and hard worker. Machlekes v'hacha b'hakam man my time at Tana kama the Amar Mechas Menikla Shish V'Yasal Shish. Says, what is the reason the first Tana who says that one who sells himself as sold for 6 years and more than 6 years, because he maintains that with regard to somebody who sold by the Bezdin, the Torah is memait. And he shall serve for 6 years. The teachers of this type of slave serve for 6 years and no more. But the same does not apply to one who sells himself. If he makes a tanai, he may serve for more than 6 years. And the other one, Rabbi Elazar, learns a different halacha from this pasuk. And he shall serve you, means that the work for you, not for a yerush. If a master has no sons, his slave is not transferred as a yerusha to the daughter or to a brother like the other property. If he does have sons, inherit the Evedibri. The other one, and he shall serve you, is written another time. V'idach and Rabbi Elazar, what does he do? This comes to appease the master. Okay, and where it says, my time with Tanakama, so what's the reason for the Tanakama who says that one who sells himself is not pierced with an owl? So he says, the Torah is in mind with regards to somebody sold by the Bezdin. Which is his ear of the slave, not the ear of somebody who sells himself as a slave. And Rabbi Elazar would say that his ear comes to as a Gzer Shabbat. That it's Sia Shiba is in Yumanis. How do you know it's the right side? Then Markat is and Rabbi is and Malahal Yuminis, Afkan Yuminis. Just like it says by the Mitzvah, Eisen means the right, so too means the right over here. And how does the first Tanakama derive that the piercing can be performed only on the right ear? And my oznai must be for the right. And the other one, his ear, not her ear.